The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Thank you very much. A wise man by the name Frederick once said that the surest way to corrupt a youth is to make him and instruct him hold in esteem those that think alike, other than those who think differently. Welcome. This is GBS Talking. I'm your host, Henry Minor. 21144 is our SMS line. And today we are privileged to talk about corruption, integrity, abuse of office, and all these kind of vices of which are within the society, and especially from the leadership perspective. That is why today we are so much glad to actually have the student leaders under the umbrella of KUCSLA. And we are drawn from different universities. We are going to be hearing from them and also from which institutions of which they are. But we have African Nazarene University, we have University of Nairobi, we also have Mahanaim College. Which other university am I leaving out? Yes. Okay. So this is it. And actually, our debate today actually focuses on corruption. And what is our role? The big question within the room is, what is the role of the young readers in curbing corruption? A vice that seems so deep-rooted that even the president himself, though he has stated that he will fight till the end, still lingers within the mind and the corridors of justice of the country. That is why today we are so much privileged to have also a panel led by the Dean, the Associate Dean of Students, African Nazarene. This is Richard Mugongo. Thank you so much for making time to come. Thank you so much. Yes, we are also privileged to have Joyce, who is also a student leader at African Nazarene University. Thank you so much. We have Festus from University of Nairobi, the Comrade Power, as they call it. Thank you so much. And last but not least on our panel, we also have Mary, a very well-abled lady who is actually on the terms of women empowerment. So we are very much, thank you to have you all. And maybe to begin the show, I would love to throw a question to Mr. Festus, as also as he does a brief introduction of yourself. Where did we go wrong as a country? Where did the rain start beating us?
Thank you once again. I want to thank you very much for having me as one of the panelists to be able to present some of the issues that are bringing this country down, and one of the vice being corruption. There are some of the things that we have taken as right things to do because everyone is doing. And by fact, this one has taken the roots. If I may take it further a little bit, you may notice even the family, we kind of bribing our children so that they can be able to agree with what we are saying. And this has gone very deep, and further it goes now to our country. So to speak, this issue should be addressed completely from individual, so that we can be able to move to the next level and bring sanity to our country. And if that one is not addressed, then we may fight some of the fights that are not very will not hand in value to everyone, to anyone, and especially to our young people who are the leaders of this country. So I believe this is a very important forum for us as young leaders and people that know where they want to go.
Okay. Thank you so much for mentioning on that perspective. And I would love now to go to Joyce, who happens to be the president of African Nazarene University, that is Town Campus. And especially within the universities and as young leaders, because if you check, even the leaders of which are within the top management of the country right now, in one way or another, at one time, they were student leaders, even those that may be mentioned within the scandals of which we're hearing. And then as a leader within the university, have you come across such kind of cases, and what is the scenario right at the university?
Thank you very much. Well, what I can say is I think at the university level, corruption starts in these small things. These small Kenyas during exam, if you cannot even be faithful with small things like exams, exams are not so bad things, but you see students who can't even be faithful enough to do an exam without copying or, you know. Also, the students who lie to their parents about fees. Someone will add something extra so that they can have money to go dundaing, you know. And it's just those little foxes that might seem little, but you see, in their long run, they contribute to the character of an individual. And there's one thing I actually like about my campus is that we are grounded on three things: character, competence, and community. Without character, you cannot be a competent person out there. Without character, you cannot go out and reach out to your community. So if you don't have character, and character is that which you do when no one is looking at you. You know, I can look all presentable in front of you guys, look all neat, but my character when no one is watching is something else. So those small things that people do that look small are the ones that contribute to the bigger picture. You go to an office, you cannot handle finances. Let's say you've been given a budget and there's surplus. You can't even give back the change. You have to find a way to pocket it. Those small things are the ones that now lead to corruption when you're out there after being a student.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. And this now building upon the character and the national values of the country as stipulated within the Constitution. A research 2 years ago by one research company actually has shown that more than 50% of the youth are actually willing to give a bribe and have their way in. So, Mr. Festus, on this aspect, and picking it up from Joyce, because also the research further states that 40% of the youth are looking forward to the crooks within the society, like crooks who are role models. They really want to become like them. So, picking maybe from you, what or how do we go about this aspect of character and competence?
Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm humbled to be here as a student leader from the University of Nairobi. That is the Secretary General. So just to say on character, as you have put it very clearly, that character determines who a leader is. And if your character is questionable, there it means then that you will also have questionable, you will do questionable things and therefore you will do questionable things in short. And therefore, in regards to character, it means that parenting matters a lot. Parenting matters a lot. That when you are with your child at home, what impact do you give to your child? What is this that you do to your child so that when he grows up, he has that good character that is unquestionable, a character that will make the nation realize its vision, a character that will mold even when the future generation comes. They will say that indeed the past parents had a good vision for this nation. That's what I can say.
For sure, I don't know whether the audience do agree, because some time back, and maybe Mr. Richard Mugongo can agree with us, that parents in one way or another sat down with their children, grandparents, uncles and aunties. But right now my parents are too busy. My mom is too busy and all these kind of things. Maybe on the aspect of parenthood, before I get to Mary, maybe Mr. Richard may have something to mention on this aspect.
That is true. At those old age, or maybe some years back, parents used to have opportunity to have their children every time. But we have exchanged that with money, with mobile phones, with pizza, with any kind of goodies, because we are not present at home because of the nature of the work that we do. You leave quite early when everyone is asleep. You have no time for your children. You've not created time for any one of them. So for you to buy that role to be seen as the mother or the father, then it means you have to give in something so that the children can accept. By taking them anywhere without asking questions, you give money without asking, and we miss completely that role and the responsibility of our parents of working. Some of the children have made it by God's grace, not because of their parents. They have gotten some other people to advise. Others have fallen in bad hands and they have been mishandled. And because no one has guided them, they have not seen a model. And also children are believed for you to be a good parent, you have to give money. You have to buy good gifts. You have to have all what they require. We don't have anything like no in our conversation with our children. And that's the biggest problem, even as we talk of anything. For sure, I want to agree with you that we failed. And those days, people used to be taken to their grandparents so that they have time to be taught good manners and other kind of things. But that one has completely gone down.
Okay. And Mary, who happens also to have vied for a women rep position, she's here with us, and we are very glad. But also the question that lingers is that sometimes we have people that we have a lot of hopes by the time that they are going to these political positions, and we kind of tag, each and everything unto them for us to be the people with a difference. I don't know, but what happens or what is there without mentioning of names, even with our current scenario? Maybe you who has already made a few steps towards this, what actually happens to these leaders? And how difficult or how easy is it to fall to the menace once you're in that position?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maina, for inviting me here. Once more, my name is Mary Ojwang. I'm the chairperson for Women Students Mentorship Association and a political aspirant. I vied for Vihiga County Women Representative, and I'm aspiring in the future. And first, let me start with the root cause of corruption. Corruption's, the role we women play in corruption is very vital. First and foremost, we are the caregivers of children. When a child comes back home with a toy of a friend, and he or she tells you that, nilipatiwa na nani, you don't take Monday to go and ask Mama Nani if that toy actually was borrowed by your son or daughter. This proceeds to high school. Your child didn't pass enough to go to Alliance or Girls High School, or maybe Mary Hill Girls High School. Then you go and bribe the principal or the headmaster to put your child in a position he or she didn't belong to. He gets himself there with 230 marks, where 400 marks and above is. This child fails, comes to the university. Of course, university is an open field. What have you taught this child? That he gets what he wants as long as you can pay kitu kidogo. So that has been the trend with our parents having played a major role in contribution of corruption. And about youth getting into jobs, you have to pay some amount you believe you have to bribe to get a position. First, I've had comrades severally talking about, education used to be the key to success until sponsors and godfathers spoiled everything. That's not true, man. Focus. What are you doing? If you are just seated there concentrating on your classwork after a degree without engaging into social skills, what do you expect? For an employer to look for you and just employ you like that without social skills? Come on, comrades, we need to talk. And on the issue about what we leaders who are coming up with a lot of expectations from our voters and our mentees, people who look up to us. Actually, I have to say, as a leader, people expect so much, and we are also human beings. We fail at some times, but we try our best. And also this system we are going into, you cannot correct a system as one person. If you don't have a team, a supportive team, you are not going to make it. Instead, when you go there with your rules of trying to wash off this menace, you will be washed out instead. So sometimes as a human being, you have a family to feed. You have responsibility to take care of. This political position is like a job to your paid salary. If you lose it, your family loses. Some responsibility become too much. Yes, you as a leader, you have the role to expose the menace, but what is the cost? People fear the cost, and that's where we leaders, we fail at.
Then the question is the society doing what it ought to do in terms of molding leaders with character?
Well, to some extent, yes, and to some extent, no. Because, we can blame society so much, And you can also blame socialization. How, like, I can say I was socialized like this, so this is how I'll behave. And then again, you can be that person who can stand out and say, no, I was raised up this way, but I, as a person, I'm not going to stand for this. Because I believe there's an age where you get to and you know this is right and this is wrong. There's that age where you don't need to be told by anyone that something is wrong. So in as much as you were raised in an environment that condoned all this kind of stuff, you can decide as a person to not, go along with the status quo and, just do what you watched growing up being done. You can decide to be different. And change, I believe, is not brought by normal people. Change is brought by people who, when the world is going this way, they can decide, no, I'm not going to go this way, I'll go the other way. Change is brought by people who stand out, not people who fit in. So you have to stand out and fight for what you know is wrong. You just cannot fit in and expect. Oh, there are people who say, hey, nchi yetu ni mbaya sijui, and they sit around with newspapers, reading what is going on, talking about it, and that's it. They don't even look for solutions. I think as youth, we need to find solutions to the problems we have. For example, you've been arrested for no particular reason, and I've actually gone through such an experience. I was just at a bus stop waiting to catch a bus to go home, but we were arrested and they said there was a crackdown going on. They're arresting people who are walking around past 9:30 p.m. and I was like, wow. So the people were bribing their way out, and I told them that I would not bribe. In fact, I remember my words. I told one of the cops, mimi sitalipa hata mkinipeleka Kamiti, because wale, wewe tutakupeleka Buruburu. It was one of those police stations around Umoja. I was arrested in Donholm. Venye tunaona unaleta kichwa tutakupeleka Buruburu. I told them, if you take me to Kamiti, it is well. And I stood my ground and I told them I'm not paying anything because I know I've not done anything wrong. Do you know, I can tell you for free, you don't have to be afraid of anything. If you know you're on the right and you haven't done anything wrong, it doesn't matter what comes your way. Trust me, the truth always stands out. And your character, if you asked about character, if your character speaks for you, there are some things that, and I believe in God, because for me, I believe it was God at that point who fought for me.
Okay. Just to second her, my colleague, Chapter 6 of the Constitution states very clearly on matters of values we as Kenyans we should embrace. Even the church itself speaks broadly about values. And therefore, this character thing is something that, and I'm proud that at some point, parents also play a very key role in as much as nowadays they have deviated a little bit, but they play a very vital role. So as such, let's as Kenyans, or let's as youths, be good ambassadors. Let's also start embracing Chapter 6 of the Constitution and having those values the Constitution states. And therefore, when we choose leaders, that's Chapter 7 of the Constitution, let's base our electing of leaders basing on Chapter 6 of the Constitution that states about values. Thank you.
And especially the election, now that we are talking about the leaders within the elective posts, maybe, Mr. Richard, you can take us through within the universities, because I am aware that most of the universities do conduct the elections, but maybe a silent one and also a loud one in one way or another. Within the universities and the elections that happen within the universities, are they credential? Even are they up to the task? And what is it that you're doing with as institutions to actually mold the right character in terms when it comes to elections as early as the university level?
Thank you, Mr. Maina. The reason why I'm smiling is that my university, African Nazarene University, we are now reviewing our constitution. Incidentally, it was promulgated 2 years ago. And now the students have felt, no, this is too much. They even have gone to an extent of disputing the Amendment Bill Act 2016 that was passed by Parliament, that they are saying that is very shallow. We need to have more detailed one because that one has been challenged. I was with my colleagues in the course of the week trying to negotiate on the same. The reason why I'm raising that, and I'm happy that you brought it, from where I sit, the elections that we've conducted, they have been credible, but they have been challenged. every time because they feel the systems have not accommodated everyone. As they say, the comrades' power, as they call themselves, and this is the language that we are used to, is that they want everyone to mobilize and master the powers of the students so that they can come and vote. But as we were in the universities now, we are talking about the kind of leadership is completely different, where now the schools will bring the few leaders to come and elect, as opposed to the old one, where we were used to queue and vote for everyone. But now you can imagine if you take like 3 students from a certain department to go and vote, and the leaders have the opportunity of, in a way of going through this and buying them. It means they feel the students are not completely secure, because you may go there, if they are 13, like maybe for instance where I come from, around 21 students, it is very easy to manage them. And the constitution, they feel that no, the constitution is not addressing all the issues that we need. So when you talk about actual leadership, this goes right from where we are, but I will say that there is no elections that you may present with where you have more than 3 people, they will not bring some issues that this was not done and this was not done. But the most thing we need to do is that where we make mistakes, I think it is going to accept there was a mistake here. What is the way forward from there, so that we can be able to accommodate everyone and all of us can be able to read from one slate. I want to agree with my colleague that chapter 6 should be taken by everyone so that we can be able to contain. But you know, even the young people I've seen, even the senior brothers and sisters are not taking that one. So they also want to maneuver in a different way. But I don't believe we should go that direction. We should do what is right because it's the right thing to do.
Okay. Mary, you have experience within the election process. And also would love to peg also another question. It is the same people who vote in the bad people and then they expect different results. Then I don't know what is happening, but how do you go about this?
It's because the voters themselves are corrupt. I think corruption is a state of mind also, if in my own definition. Because you know very well that this leader is corrupt. We gave him or her a role to play in the parliament. They failed. They come back with the same things and the same policies and the same manifesto of making roads, of bringing water to the voters' doorsteps, of bringing electricity. The same leaders after 5 years use the same manifesto to tell you, vote for us, we will bring the same things. It's the role of a voter to ask the leader, what have you done so far? Let them do analysis before they vote. Let's not vote. Okay, I feel disappointed on the youth members of parliament. Our youth legislatures have failed us. We had so much hope in them. We thought they would make a change. But what did they do? They are copying from our parents who are more corrupt. And they are becoming worse than our parents. They are stealing excessively. So I think voters have a key role to play in this. But who are the voters? If you as an individual, you are corrupt by just adding an extra spoon of sugar in tea in a hotel than that one you use at home, you're already corrupt. Let's change our mindset. Let's look at it differently. Let's live our life as Christians, okay, or Muslims. Let's open our minds and think, if I do this, if I stop corruption at a personal level, what will happen? If you stop at a personal level, you are mentoring someone. They will always observe your life and see, like, let me use Celine. Celine doesn't always add extra sugar in her tea when she's in a hotel. Celine don't serve extra plate of meat because it's given free. They will want to know and learn from you. Be a mentor. Change your mindset. Change yourself first before you want every other person to change. So voters, if they don't want corrupt leaders, they should themselves stop getting money, sourcing for handouts from politicians to vote for them. If I give you my money when I'm campaigning, do you have a voice to tell me, come on, there is no good roads in our estate. Please, my politician or my leader, come and rectify this. You won't have a voice. Because either way, just like other leaders we have seen saying, actually, wewe nilikulipa ngapi? Na bado unaongea, kama ni kazi unataka utafanya, ama tukunyoroshe. That's what they'll do. because you lost value in the first place. Uphold your value as a voter. Don't be bribed by a politician. Set your standards to appoint a politician. In fact, we politicians, actually, let me be honest, because I worked as a voter, I worked as an advisor, and I was a politician at the same time. A politician values you with your ethical standards. If you are that kind of a person who want to go and work for a politician so that you can extort what they have in exchange, they will never respect you. If you go there to advise them how they can make a change and how they can win votes, without mentioning, but you should pay me this, they respect you. And that's what we need to work on, our own mindset. Thank you.
Okay. If you're anyhow to go by the standards of adding an extra spoon of sugar at the hotel and not at home, then I believe even the audience themselves can only keep their mouths shut as far as this is concerned. But sure, it begins from those small things of which we kind of neglect. And through this negligence, then it becomes a big monster within the room. So this time around, I want to come to the audience, and especially if there's anyone who has a question, we are going to be hearing from the audience, any questions of which they have, or any remarks towards what has already been discussed. But for right now, we'll take a short break. Please don't go too far. This is GBS Talking, and today we are privileged to have student leaders speaking about corruption. And actually, we are taking the role as the youth of this country to see to it that this menace comes to an end now, not tomorrow. Thank you so much. We'll take a short break. And thank you very much. If you are joining us right now, this is GBS Talking, and today we are talking about corruption, and we are more than privileged to actually have the leaders of today. And these are the student leaders within the universities and colleges of the country. And that is why today we are talking about corruption, integrity, the abuse of office. And one thing of which has come out very clear from the panel of which we are privileged here to have today is that this corruption narrows down to an individual. And this the president has stated back and back again when he's addressing the nation, also within interviews, that it is an individual. As you do this menace, you do it as an individual. And as you face the wrath of it, also you should face it as an individual. And narrowing down more to an individual, it is all about the mindset. Which mindset do you have? And we are more than privileged to actually have a panel that is directing the talk within that citizens, the voters, the leaders themselves, we should be in a position to change our mindset for the purposes of fighting corruption. And that is why also at this particular moment, I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions or any comments of which they have as we deliberate on this topic. So thank you, audience, so much for coming, and I would love to have the first one, kindly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm Isaac Okech from the University of Nairobi. I'm a student of political science. I have 3 comments to make very fast. First of all, this talk about corruption. We've had several conferences to talk about corruption and graft. This is not the first one, it's not the last. The other day we had the anti-corruption conference in the Bomas of Kenya. So I think this talk about corruption, it has just become a talk show of who has the best phrases about corruption. Not little action is being taken to cure this cancer that is really ailing our nation and fleecing us of several amounts of money. From the Auditor General, we lose close to 620 billion every financial year. And that is not so little an amount of money. Number 2, I think we as Kenyans, we've adopted this culture of being very good at complaining. Very good at complaining. I want to urge us as young people and as a young population, let us be proactive. In as much as we complain, let us offer possible solutions that, if taken into account, can be used to cure this menace. Thirdly, the fight against corruption has become, and this is my last point, it has become, there is a sort of blame game, throwing blames from this institution to the other. In 2016, when the president himself hosted the anti-corruption summit, the corruption summit at State House, you remember? When he got the chance, I remember he had just traveled from Togo. He was back. He was given the chance to speak. There was an open blame game on the Attorney General, DPP, and the DCI. Remember, Ndegwa Moro was the head of DCI by then. I even went ahead and said that sasa mnataka nifanye nini, telling us that he has completely given up on the war against corruption. So I think the president is a lame duck president. I'm sorry to say that. He ought to crack the whip right now, because these people are known. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Franklin Machuka from the University of Nairobi. And I have a comment to make, and I'll start first with a question. My question goes to Festus, our able, and we are proud of you, our Secretary General, University of Nairobi. You talked about, when he was talking, among many other points, he stated chapter 10 of the Constitution and chapter 7 of the chapter 6 of the Constitution and chapter 7 of the Constitution. And I think most of us went, like, some of us did not really get what that chapter 6 and 7 of the Constitution states. To some point, that drives me to the point I wanted to state, which is the ignorance or awareness. I mean, how many people in the country are actually aware of what the roles the people they have elected to the government have to play? Okay, that is all. I mean, with me, that is all this crude thing about corruption starts. Because in the first place, you are unaware of what you expect your leader to do for you. So after you get that 50 shillings or 10 shillings, then you are going to be there, rampaging in poverty for 5 or 10 years. That was the question. I mean, that was the comment on that. So I think let's be more of aware of what the Constitution states. At the same time, let's create awareness of those people. If those people of us, some of us are aware of what the Constitution states, of what the Human Rights Act states, and blah, 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 then let's go out there. Let's enable people in the village, rural places, to know what they're supposed to get in return of their voting process. 2 is that I think from the records, corruption has been growing. Like, if we look at the Moi era, coming to Kibaki era, now going to the Jubilee reign, I think there's been this gradual increase in this animal called corruption. More especially during the late periods, whereby they've been increasing borrowing and what you have. So I was trying to ask, can we really relate corruption with poverty in a manner that if I was, because I'm poor, then maybe I don't have a say in the public domain, then I'm not going to get anything, even if I've got paper stating a distinction or even, what you have as first degree or whatever. Can we really relate corruption with poverty? And if that could be the case, how can we disentangle that? Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. And this goes to Festus. Maybe indirectly he was asking whether you have a hard copy or soft copy of the Constitution, and maybe...
Just to answer that, thank you for asking that question. And just to say, it is true that corruption has been a disease. And that as leaders and youths of today, most of us are ignorant. Say that you have even a constitution, but you don't know even what chapter 6 states. You see, when you are a youth leader or a student leader and you don't know even what chapter 6 states, even chapter 3 about citizenship, then you lack that virtue of patriotism to your country. And then this trickles down that now you want to benefit yourself, that you yourself at the expense of the country. Therefore, you lose it when you want to benefit yourself and not knowing that you are affecting the larger population. You see, and that's why I can urge all of us. Me, I have a constitution in my phone, on my phone, and I have another one in my bedroom. You see, that before I sleep, I have to read one article. That's why I don't forget. So I urge all of us.
Maybe we can have a comment before we pick another.
Yes,
question.
in support of on Titus, the first question we should ask ourselves, where do we get this constitution for those who don't have it? Do you really know where to get it? Some people don't even have a smartphone to download that constitution available online. Where do you get it? If you're in the village, do you know where your chief's office is? They should give you that constitution. One day I came across some people selling the constitution at Jivanji Garden. Shame on them, Kanjo. Shame on you. That constitution should be given free. Na walitaka kuniuzia 500. Thanks to God, I know my rights. I know what the law states. I know I should get it for free. I looked naive then for them to confuse me to somebody who was capable of buying. And then I was desperately in need of constitution. That was like 2 years ago. Therefore, I think we have a vital role in getting this constitution to our parents, reading for them, and to the national government. Can a person from Turukana understand what the constitution states? Can we translate this constitution into a simpler language for those who don't speak English or Kiswahili? Do we even have a Kiswahili version of the constitution? Those are the questions we should ask the government. What are our leaders doing to ensure that the voters, the citizens, know what constitution is about? It's not about amending the constitution every right and then for some people to fit their interest. That's so wrong. Shame on you, our leaders. Let's work on how to make people aware of what the constitution states in the first place. And to my colleague Franklin, talking about ignorance, what are you doing as an individual? You are saying that corruption has been a menace and it can't just end. It has been there in the previous leadership and it's transversed to the current leadership. What are we doing as youth leaders? We have a big role to play. And as it was said that we are future leaders, we are the current leaders. What are you doing in your position now as a student leader to stop that corruption, to stop that corrupt leader? You have all the rights. I'm proud that Kenya is a democratic country. Back in China, I was told you dare demonstrate. You, together with the person behind it, you will be in prison forever. We have a democratic country. We as Democrats, what are we doing? We know so-and-so is corrupt and we just sing about it. No one is coming to get that person out of office. Youth, what are we doing? Sitting back and complaining, we are ignorant, we know. Let's act, it's time to act. And finally, talking about poverty with a link to corruption. What is the role of devolution? We brag so much, we have devolution. Right now, resources have been broken down to the regional levels, but what are these resources being used for? Do you even know who is in charge of those resources as a youth? How much are you doing as an individual to tell your other youth leaders who are not in the capacity of leadership their role in devolution, what they should do, how they should benefit from the resources? This thing, as I stated earlier, starts as from an individual perspective. Let's act. Let's not talk. It's time to stop talking and taking action, questioning our leaders. Even if there is a cost of fighting corruption. You'll be imprisoned, you'll be suspended, you will be killed, but they will not kill all of us. That's something we should know. Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's a woman in power speaking, eh? Yes, Mary, we can have one more, a round of 2 or 3 sets of questions. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Evans Uchieng, a student of University of Nairobi. I want to comment about corruption as a mindset, and a leader should also be a person of character, meaning that you have had the parents of this generation blaming the people who are born from the year 2000 or late 1990s because they say they are lazy, stubborn, they are slaying. Okay, that one tells you something, that there is a lack of responsibility among our parents, and that is where the reign started. As much as corruption is concerned, I think corruption is a mindset, like somebody, one of the panelists put it, it is a mindset. And it also depends on the character of the leader, such that forums like this should be encouraging youths to have that character, so that when they finally get positions of authority, they can act on the character they have been singing all along, rather than emulating what is already in the public domain. Because I don't really think corruption will be eradicated. It is everywhere in US, even in the advanced nations, they are there. Even in biblical time, ancient time, Jacob went with the birthright of his brother. That was act of corruption. And what is happening for sure is that they are dealing with the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not be God. Even in China, even in US, just steal. But if you are found, you carry your burden. That is what the president is also preaching. But in ideal sense, it is the leader who is seated among us is going to have authority tomorrow. But he is going to misuse that authority, because when you are a leader and you are the person who set precedence, to what extent do you want that corruption to take place? If people knows that Mr. Maina is very, very ruthless with the corruption issues, I dare you not. No one will attempt you. You heard when Thika Road wanted to be constructed, somebody just said, I will not mention him, he is a king. A king just said, each, but allow the road to be what? Constructed. Meaning he knows. So sometimes when you come with thorax to fight them, really it doesn't really. But I urge you, when you become in the position of authority, empower your fellow youths who are here. Because when we go there, we forget. Such that even if somebody is a standard of integrity like Miguna, is being fought to hell. And when Miguna is deported, no one is demonstrating. But when this Ugandan leader was the other day, he was mishandled by the president of Uganda, Museveni. I saw some youths in Kenya going to protest for a Ugandan, while Miguna was being ruthlessly. So that is hypocrisy at the highest standard. So let us just, I like such forums, but let us be true to what we are being told and to what we are seeing. And these forums, they are usually very mean, especially when we are heading to elections. Youth seminars, women empowerment. Why? That is the time they want to console you so that you don't look at their sins. But that is the time you should stand up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, yes, I know I do have leaders, and whenever you give a leader a mic, then kindly make it brief and short. But thank you so much. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ngong Mayom. I'm from South Sudan, Crying Nation. Sorry to say that, but I hope you understand. I'm from Mainem College. I'm doing IT. I'm a student leader there. Okay, if I can comment on the corruption. Yes, corruption is everywhere, not Kenya only, even South Sudan, right? And even that the worst, I can say. You are lucky, you are in Kenya, and at least you are discussing something to do with corruption. There, if you go there, you cannot talk about corruption, because you will be, I don't know. Okay, let's say this corruption, you have talked about mindset, but mindset is the book cover, the cover of the book. What is inside there? Let me just tell you. This is something which is within us now. Something called desire. You have that desire to have money, to have something big in you. You see, when that desire comes, it is more. Let's say, let me just give an example. Stand up. Let's say this is desire, and this is self-control. Now, who is taller than who? Now, I'm talking about saying about desire and self-control. I'm the desire. Cheese? Now, who is taller? Desire. So I can be able to reach before her. So the same thing. thank you, sit down. The same thing, when you have your desire are more or they are higher than your self-control, you cannot be able to control. And that's why my sister said that you start with small thing, just like sukkah, taking that sukkah to the other one. You see, just the same thing, when you have that one in your mind, that your desire are higher than your ability to control. You see, that's why you see people are having, they want to have more. So I can say that it is that mindset, and then you make sure you turn the cover and see what is inside the mindset. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have maybe a lady for the purposes of gender. Self-control. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Debbie Kwamboka. I'm from Mahanaim Educational Institute. I have a question, but before that, I'd like to give an example of the things that are happening in our country. I've had incidences where houses around are being demolished. I'm asking myself this question. This person went to get a permit to build that house before anything else. There's someone in office who gives that permit. So my question is, are these people staying too much in office that they lose their meaning? Yes.
Okay. That question, please hold on to it, Mr. Richard, and then he'll answer. We have one more question. Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
My name is Daniel Karanja from Technical University of Kenya. So you all have said something about character. But I think when we talk about character, we forget about the main picture, the bigger picture in Kenya. Because we all know that killing someone is wrong. Right or wrong?
Right.
Yeah, that is why you try as much as possible not to kill someone. But when you come to Kenya, you find that corruption, the main reason why there is corruption in Kenya, I think it's because of the issue of impunity. Impunity in that these people, they do what they do knowingly, and they know that they can get away with it. That is why you find, like, for example, in the year 2015, there was this scandal about NYS where we lost about 791 million shillings. And then 2 years down the line, we have another scandal where we lost about 9 billion Kenyan shillings. So when you talk about character, I think you're just looking at the smaller picture. In Kenya, we need to look about the bigger picture, because I think these people, they do what they do because they know that they can get away with it.
My name is Sharon from Mahanaim Institute. I want to comment about the issue of corruption. I think it's all about hypocrisy. When people are told that a certain leader is corrupt, yes, they get violent and they want to take him to court and let him return the amount of money, or let him do whatever it's supposed to be done by the court. But there is something people always do that always annoys me, is that when we know the person is corrupt, we always want him to go to court. But what happens? The case only goes for a week, then it's silent. Then the people know that the person is corrupt. What do? They vote for him the next election, and they continue voting for the wrong people, and they'll still complain. Nothing will be done. Then the people, when someone is elected to do the right thing, like Mheshimiwa Matiang'i, when he was trying to do the right thing, people were against him. They want him to be removed from the seat. They want him to be removed from the office. Why? Why don't you want the right leader who is doing the right thing to do his job? When the wrong leader is in the office, you're complaining. When he's removed, you are complaining he be taken back. When the right leader is kept in office, you want him to be removed. I don't understand why Kenyans they are confused in their mindset. They don't know what they want. Do you want the right thing to be done, or do you want the wrong thing to be done? The Kenyans are the ones who are corrupt, not the leaders.
Okay, thank you so much for that one. We'll take comments and answers maybe from the panel, and then we get back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maina, and I want to thank the leaders for the questions and the comments. Just one case that I want to respond to about people staying in the office, whether they lose meaning. And because you've talked about the cases of houses being demolished and other things. One, I will say that to me that's completely being dishonest. Corruption is being dishonest as it is. Many houses that we see around in this country, people have acquired all the documents And that's why they are very strong, and they have put them where they are, and they are able to prove those documents. But then someone in the office, maybe when that building was being constructed, was not seen, or so to speak, the card was not given to him, so like to threaten. That's why you see cases go to court and they just fade away. We don't know what has happened. They are very fiery at the beginning of the introductions with so many lawyers, as many lawyers as we have in this room, but all of a sudden, these cases die completely because there's a way they have gone through it. And we have seen some buildings still standing. And we know this building for sure is obstructing, and we know, all of us know this one is obstructing. And they're still there. So it's a matter of people not being honest because they have accepted a bribe to be in that office. And those files will disappear. I've been told files disappear from offices. Where they go, that is why I don't know. And also they can reappear sometimes. Yeah, they can also reappear. And registries have interesting stories. There are angels in the registry that can bring a file and they can also, take a file away. So I'm saying this menace has to die completely. People know what they are supposed to do, but we are cheating ourselves, for sure. Even the people that take money, they know they are doing the wrong thing. Just to say this, Mr. Maina, is that the corruption has different wordings every day. The other day I was told because someone cannot ask for money, he's asking for, can I then have water from you? Water. Water. 20 bob or 50 shillings. That's the level we have gone. Someone who is earning salary is willing to take 50 shillings, is willing to take 20 shillings. So that and he's saying, this is not corruption. Now I'm asking you as a friend. Now that is the level it has gone. I'm asking you as a friend. And I think this one has to die, and we have to start it as the leaders of today, not tomorrow.
Okay. Yes.
Just to add, we should be asking ourselves this question. Is there genuineness in the fight against corruption? Is there genuineness in the fight against corruption? Or are we doing it just to settle political scores from one regime to the other? It is my hope as a youth that this time around, under the Jubilee regime, led by President Uhuru Kenyatta, that we are fighting corruption genuinely, such that we benefit all of us as Kenyans, not few individuals. And that's why when I see cases such as demolition of houses, corruption, how do you call this? There are several things which are happening. We don't know whether they are genuine or ingenuine, but from a political spectrum, they are just political, they are just there to settle political scores. And therefore, this is where we go wrong as Kenya. And that we have leaders who are there just for the sake, just eyeing 2022, what will happen. But today, we are just there. We are just being taken as a bandwagon. We are just there in a country where we don't know what next. But anyway, as Kenyans, we should stand up and fight for what is rightfully ours. And we have our constitution is robust. We know our rights. Let's Kenyans stand up for what is right. Thank you.
Okay, maybe from the panel before you take, yes, you have.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to Debbie on are all people overstaying in offices, and is that making them to lose their meaning? Honestly speaking, that statement itself is corruption. Why are they overstaying in offices if their term is ended? And you are seated there. We have thousands, in fact millions of youths who are jobless. Some are graduates. You are seated there doing nothing and complaining, waiting for these people to leave their office and come and look for you to give you that position. You wake up, look for those positions. Tell them it's your term has ended, it's now my term. Go and get them out of office if they have retired. Tell the government, don't recycle old leaders. We need new leaders. Yes, old is gold, but what kind of mentorship do we get from them? They have been there, they've been stealing. Is your interest to take that position and continue looting like our young member of parliament have shown us? They are taking wrong mentorship from those who were there before. It still narrows down to an individual. We have to wake up as youth. And to the gentleman, looking at the bigger picture, still will narrow down to an individual. We see the people involved in the big billions of dollars scandals in the country are politicians, true or false? What are we doing? We are still electing them to offices. We are complaining on Twitter. We are complaining on Facebook. We are holding forums and talking, but in real sense, we are doing nothing. In fact, you also pray that your dad or your brother would get that position to make you some fake HR somewhere to be earning some. Come on. It still narrows down to an individual. What's the role of voter education? How many people went through that voter education on who to elect? What is required of those leaders? No one. We have ethics everywhere. You go to work, there is work ethics. You go to school, we have school rules. Even in politics, there is ethics. You have to be cleared by the ethics and anti-corruption. How are these people cleared when they are corrupt? That question still narrows down to our system and us as individuals. If you know very well, Mary is corrupt, and she wants to vie for, let's say, member of parliament, you have an evidence. Why don't you proceed to court and stop her? Mobilize yourselves as youths and go to court and say, no, this is not the type of leaders we want. It's time for you to stand up, and please don't emulate those bad leaders, those bad young members of parliament who are embarrassing us. Instead of doing the right things as we expected, they have copied our dads and moms in the parliament. Okay. So it's still about an individual and about hypocrisy. Youth should take charge in leading people towards electing good leaders. What have you done during the previous election? I'm sure most of us as student leaders, we were either in a campaign caravan or in the strategy team, or you were somewhere in the advisory team in electoral, either for a politician or in the electoral system. What were you doing in that space? Okay. Did you just tell somebody, so and so, this is the way to do things, this is the right leader, this is what we should expect, these are their roles? You know, even you could be there, but you don't know the role of a member of parliament. Come on, let's wake up.
This is very true. I want to really cut Mary short because she's on fire and time is not on our side. And then let's have, and I do support, because even the Chief Justice himself, he said, give me evidence. Give us evidence, and then we will do our work. I think then also throwing a question onto you, how many times have you provided evidence towards corruption cases or anything that is a menace within graft impunity, anything? I think this is a challenge of which I also throw to you. Have you provided any evidence?